Alexander Graham Bell is the inventor of the first telephone. He was American, but originally a Canadian citizen when he emigrated from Scotland. He always loved Canada, and in fact, he died in his beloved vacation home in Baddeck, Nova Scotia. Alexander Graham Bell was born on March 3, 1847, in Edinburgh, Scotland. In 1867, Ted, his brother, dies of tuberculosis. In 1870, his brother Mally dies of tuberculosis, so he moves to Canada and becomes an official Canadian citizen. In 1871, he moves to Boston to teach more deaf students. On February 14, 1876, he got his invention for the telephone patented. On March 10, 1876, he shouted into the transmitter and Thomas Watson heard him. After many tries, finally on this date, his idea of the telephone came to life. On July 9, 1877, he created the Bell Telephone Company with Thomas Sanders, Thomas Watson, his assistant, and Gardiner Hubbard. On January 25, 1915, he makes the first call from a different continent than the other person. Sadly, on August 2, 1922, he dies in his home in Baddeck, Nova Scotia. You may ask, why did he invent the telephone? His mom and wife were deaf, so he was motivated to think of better ways of communication. He also taught the deaf, which inspired him to deepen his understandings of vibrations and sounds, which he was already fascinated by. When you speak into the telephone, the sound waves make a thin metal disc called the diaphragm vibrate. This causes it to put pressure against carbon grains. When the carbon grains are pressed together, an electric current from the battery goes through these grains. It copies the sound waves you created when speaking and travels through a wire to the receiver. The receiver also has a diaphragm. At the edge of it is an electromagnet. It has a coil wrapped around the iron middle. When the electric current passes through it, the diaphragm is magnetized to it. The diaphragm then vibrates according to how close it is to the electromagnet. The vibrations cause sound waves that are a copy of the original sound from the speaker. The telephone was how they then communicated over long distances. In the ancient times, they used drums to do this. The first time they used drums to communicate over long distances was 1000 to 500 BC. Just like how the diaphragm vibrates to create sound that's an exact copy of the human voice, in West Africa they made what is called a talking drum. They play a drum and make it vibrate so it sounds exactly like the human voice, even though it isn't. People there would take drum classes and are taught how to do this. Bell had a big impact on Canada. He created many inventions, such as the metal detector, which we still use in Canada today. It's fascinating that he had the idea to transmit human voice while in Ontario, Canada. He also could have chosen anywhere to vacation, but he chose Baddeck, Nova Scotia, where he continued to invent and spend time with his family. The Alexander Graham Bell Museum is in Baddeck, and it's cool because I actually went there to his museum. It was awesome. It is a tribute to him as a person, of their community, as well as his inventions. I truly believe Canada had a special place in his heart.